Search AutoTrader.
Welcome back to another vodcast, and I think because we have three very similar vehicles here, we can start calling it a bit of an auto battle. And I'd like to compare these vehicles, but they're not even direct competitors. Joining me is Sean Nurse and Taye. So
That's
hi
me.
guys.
What up?
Hello.
What's up?
What are you defending?
So I've been driving this base model Mitsubishi Triton double cab in GL, guys, and I have to say it's a really back to basics double cab bakkie. I think it's such a nice package, so that's what I'll be going for today. It's refreshing in its simplicity, I would say, which is weird, but we always complain about things with a lack of features, but this has a lack of features, but that's endearing in a way, if that makes sense.
Part of its appeal.
Yeah. That's its appeal, exactly.
But I think we'll dive into that a little just now. Taye, what are you behind the wheel of?
So I'm behind the 1.9 D-Max in Alice 4x2 trim. So it's double cab feature, of course. We got the 1.9 TDI engine, and it's quite rudimentary in a sense, but at the same time as what Sean mentioned here with the lack of features potentially on his Triton, it's kind of the same with the Isuzu, but you get exactly what you need. And it's just a good foundation of a bakkie, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Okay, because I'm behind the wheel of a Ford Ranger Stormtrak, which is limited edition.
Yeah.
I'll always knock them, and
trims.
they're going to hate me for this. Is king of the sticker pack, but it's essentially it's a wild track with a couple of extra little styling goodies on it, and one or two little features that we'll dive into. So I think we've got a representation here of established brands. We're going to go with tried, tested, trusted. I mean, if we take the Mitsubishi, that's all the way back to Colt Rodeo.
Yep.
You know, there's a bit of a basis there. We're talking about KB. Isuzu KB, I think 42 years or 43 years that Isuzu's been making.
Since I was a kid, Isuzu's
you
been
ain't
just
that
making.
old.
Yeah, I'm not that old, but still.
I'm nearly there. Okay, so I think it was 1980 that they started, and that's like a year off of mine. And then of course the Ranger. So I mean that goes back in Ford making the Courier. This was the Ranger was sort of the replacement for the Courier. So they're all established. It's not like these are upstarts. It's not like it's a Chinese firm that's coming in, but they don't compete because we've got like a range topper here.
Yeah.
There's a mid-ranger there, and there's a entry level, no mess, no fuss.
Yeah.
Okay. So where I actually want to start is with the price, because I think that's going to set the tone for the rest of the conversation, is when we just go on outright price. What are we expecting to pay for these vehicles? And then you guys at home, you can decide whether it's actually worth the money or not. So Sean, where do you come in?
So this in GL, guys, starts at 483,000 Rand, but then you don't get an infotainment system.
So it's sub 500?
Sub 500. I think that's a key psychological barrier they've broken, but if you get an infotainment system, you're getting closer to 490, but it's still crucially sub 500,000 Rand for a double cab bakkie.
And that leaves you with a little bit of room to throw a couple of add-ons, whether you're wanting, style bars, nudge bars, different all-terrain tires or something of the sorts.
Absolutely.
Although I see Dunlop is making a killing between these two.
They've definitely cornered that market there. Got similar tires. I think you've got AT25s, those are AT20s, 16-inch, 17-inch. So more.
And I'm on the Contis.
You're on the Contis,
I'm on the Contis.
The outlier.
Yours is sort of a mid-range vibe. One thing that they've all got in common, though, is they're all double cabs and they're all 4x2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But yours is now a mid-range D-Max, and this is one of the newer introductions into the market. Mine's probably the oldest, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. So they were introduced fairly recently. So yes, good mid-ranger in terms of like, okay, you got decent amount of spec, decent amount of quality involved, but what's there for the Isuzu? It's still that bakkie formula that you'd expect.
Okay.
In that you know this thing is robust, you know it's gonna last. You know everything inside is hard wearing, but at the same time, there's somewhat of an air of refinement and luxury to it. The seats especially, that's one of the key points where I jumped into it and I was like, wow, this is really comfortable. I didn't expect it to be like this.
Yeah.
It's something I expect out of, like, let's say a V-Cross or something, which that's the higher tier model for this.
Yeah.
But this LS, like, I can't complain. It's such a brilliant, get the basics right. That's what it is.
Okay.
And I love that about it.
And what's that costing us?
That is running up to 540. If you want to get specific, 537, 500.
Okay. this is the pricey option because you guys are hovering around that 5 number.
Yeah.
I'm at 815.
Yeah. It's quite a bit more change.
That is heavy.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, that's a lot of money for a double cab. But, and it was something that I realized a little while ago is that they started becoming really expensive when they became status symbols. And they started becoming status symbols, and we're going to thank one of those that aren't here. We're going to thank the Navara for that, because the Navara was one of the first double cabs that showed that, hey, you can use this daily. I drive like an SUV, and you can expect car-like refinement from a double cab. It was no longer agricultural and just an implement that's used on construction site, at the mine, on the farm. You know, it was now, I can live in the city. And I think we're seeing that throughout all of this, and the Ford is just on the high end of that.
Exactly that, I agree. Because it's like, go to Maud Street in Sandton or something. It's like, okay, cool, you'll see your usual SUVs like your Mercs and that. But then when you see something like this, you know, it's got that presence. It's imposing even, especially when you see...
It doesn't look out of place.
Arches and that, it does not look out of place at all.
And I think previously, before these lifestyle double cabs inherited all these new in-car technologies and had a more car-like ride quality and refinement, I think you had a stage where someone would have a Bantam of sorts for their business, or perhaps a very agricultural single cab, and then another vehicle, whether that had been a sedan or an SUV even, and they would have those two, a Jetta, have a two-car garage, and now you've got people consolidating their garage to one vehicle that can do it all. And they don't want to sort of compromise on features, but they also don't want to compromise on capability. And I think that's where things like you said, the Navara, the Amarok, when that first came out, was a massive catalyst for that. Yeah. And this Stormtrak is a fantastic example of that bakkie that can kind of do both.
But it's now pushing luxury. It really is pushing that luxury element. I mean, you're looking at 815k with a 10% deposit taken over 72 years, you're looking at 20k a month. If you are being responsible with your money and you're supposed to only be spending 20% of your net salary, that means your take home has to be 100k.
To be able to daily drive a Stormtrak.
Whereas you're looking at 60k is what you need to take home if you're looking at a Triton or one of these D-Maxes. I'm going to call this thing a KB. I can see it now. It's just ingrained in me. I'm going to call it.
It's been a KB for so many decades.
And you know, D-Max is a cool name, definitely, but I think anyone watching this here will be like, this is a KB. We know this as a KB.
Yeah, in South Africa, it's a KB.
It's a KB,
Okay, I want to get down to, let's go with powertrains. Because there's been quite a chop and change on your side. Mine fairly recently, and yours almost not at all.
Mine is again that refreshingly old school approach. I mean, the gear lever inside looks like it's from a 90s Corolla. That really old rubber 6-speed manual shifter, quite a long throw.
Do you have carpets in that?
I have I don't know if I could classify them as carpets, but they are items that prevent dirt from getting onto the carpet underneath. Yes.
Okay, all right. But I mean, it's not rubber lined. It's not like a fleet side or a 6th gen Isuzu that's, you know, Spartan and meant to be a fleet vehicle.
No, and actually there are a few, especially in terms of build quality, there's a few hints that further up the Triton line, you've got quite a premium product. So it has the same sort of solid build quality. The cloth seats are very comfortable, and powertrain is similar to what you'd get on a normal Triton, just obviously 6-speed manual. And the 2.4 litre diesel's been detuned to 100 kilowatts and 324 newton meters. So, you know, it's really that workhorse that can potentially also do work for the family if you don't have the biggest budget and you don't want to go for one of the Chinese alternatives like the GWMP series, for example.
So it's like the farm dude now becoming a city slicker.
It can kind of do both. I've done the commute here to the office today. Was very, very comfortable for what it is. It's definitely not BT50 hard on the road.
There's very little that
there's very little that is as rough as that on the road, but I'm just so impressed with it so far. It's been really good.
I'm going to have to fight you on those seats, though. We're going to have to do a comparison
A cloth
afterwards.
seat face-off.
Those seats in the D-Max, that surprised me. It's a mid-ranger, yes, but that is such a lovely seat.
Yeah.
I have to argue that.
Okay. Power-wise? Because yours is the interesting one here.
So this, I have to say, is definitely one of the better 1.9 TDIs I've driven in a bakkie. You know, we have the likes of the Peugeot Landtrek, where there's a very noticeable amount of turbo lag. This, it's gentle linear power delivery. So we've got 110 kilowatts and 350 Newton meters. In terms of just fuel consumption, I think it's the heavier compared to the Triton. What did you get on yours, actually?
So I haven't driven the car extensively. It's about 140 Ks I've done in the car. I'm doing 6.4 litres per 100 Ks in that car. It's incredible.
6.4 on a 2.4 turbo diesel.
Yeah.
Detuned.
Detuned. It's been the lightest bakkie on fuel that I've tested in years.
I don't believe it.
Does it come at a bit of a sacrifice in terms of the drivability because of that detuning though?
So I found when we looked at where the D-Max's torque comes in, it's actually 300 RPM higher in the D-Max than it is in the Triton. So at 1500 RPM, you've till about 2,800, you've got all 324 newts. So it's quite usable. It's just obviously Taye's massive advantage is an auto.
Exactly.
And that is really what people want these days, is the automatic gearbox. But for someone that doesn't mind a manual gearbox, I found it so easy to live with. I mean, there's not...
If you've got that torque being delivered down low, then you're not sitting there having to really ring out and time shifts properly. You can pretty much almost just leave it in a gear and just put your foot down and let that torque start working.
Yep, that's what I did in traffic today. I left it in third gear, sort of a little bit of gridlock on the highway every now and again, just left it on third gear and it just cruised. Riding that torque
in
band.
gear,
Nice.
riding that. Okay.
So I've been quite impressed with that,
Okay. Is it more like just a surge or just linear delivery in the Triton?
It's very linear. I've got a feeling that turbo is quite small. There's not that big sort of crescendo. It's just a sort of even kilter towards redline.
No, it's very similar in the D-Max, I'd say, as well. And with that auto box, as you mentioned, it does smooth things out quite a bit. You know, I've yet to drive the manual for this, but the auto box in that D-Max, I think it's very well programmed, I have to say.
The MUX I drove recently also, the way that Isuzu have paired their auto gearboxes with their powertrains, I think is very impressive.
On the money.
And it's a 6-speed auto,
Yeah.
which is rather refreshing because in this one, we're sitting with a 10-speed auto, that Camaro gearbox.
Yeah.
And it's a little... I don't want to say it's a little futile. It does the job pretty well, and it's not poorly programmed. And the pairing with a 2-liter BiTurbo, it is the most powerful one here. Comes with the price tag. I mean, it's making 500 newtons of torque. So
you got 2 turbos. We've only got 1.
Yeah, and I got a sequential system there, and that gives it a nice. My one gripe from the engine is that putting your foot flat doesn't really benefit you anything. You're almost better off keeping it at about 50 to 60% throttle, and then it's sort of, that feels a lot more peppy. There's no point in almost revving this engine out. It's sort of, the gears are going to change a little sooner. The gearbox is clever. It can hop from like 2nd gear to 5th gear, and then on to 7th and then 10th if need be for cruising. And it can also drop down. So when you want to overtake, it can drop multiple gears. It doesn't go, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. It can go from 5th to 2nd if it needs to for overtaking. Really agreeable. It really drives like a large SUV. Fuel consumption on mine, mid to high 9s. They're claiming considerably less. I think they're claiming high 7s, and not on the combined cycle. I don't think you're going to get that unless you really are going to let everybody pass you off the line.
Because I'm getting similar in the D-Max. So open road, the start of the combined cycle claimed. Isuzu is claiming 7.6 per 100 Ks. I've been getting open road, because I've done about 300 Ks in the car. So I've been getting 8.2 open, was very gentle in the streets.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's good.
But giving it a little bit of foot in an urban setting, I've been getting 9.2. So considering the engine size,
It's less than
It's-
10,
yeah.
which is rather palatable. I mean,
Yeah.
coming in at mid 9s, 9.6s, 9.7s over an extended period of time, you can get that down to an 8.9. You can.
Yeah.
If you definitely have a little bit of longer open road driving. I recently changed a route that included a little more highway driving, and yeah, I saw it tumble down. Low 9s, I think, is what you should expect with a sort of 50-50 average, and you're not running around with your hair on fire.
Yeah.
But how did you do it?
So mine's going to go up. I know that for a fact because when I left the house this morning, it was sitting on about 7.2. And by the time I got to the office, it was 6.4. And that was, my commute is about 63 Ks to the office. And a lot of that is freeway driving. And the freeway was a bit congested. So I was doing a sort of 60 to 100 Ks an hour the entire time. But I still think that 7 is easily achievable in this car. I've just, it's been very frugal on fuel. And the fact that it's a manual means that I can decide when I want to change gears, and that I can then manipulate the fuel consumption to be lower if I wanted to. Well, that's what I've found with manuals, at least.
All right, I want to change this up a little bit. We could run into, these are the exact specs and whatnot, but give us a rundown of some of the features that it has and what you really like about that Triton.
So my segment will probably be the shortest here because I don't have much going on. There is really not much going on. If you don't spec that infotainment system, you pretty much have an aircon, electric windows, 2 airbags, and a steering wheel.
And carpets.
And carpets. But with that infotainment system, it's a Sony unit that Mitsubishi will fit for you. It's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I know Taye had a look at it before we started filming and stuff. It's not bad.
Yeah, pretty decent, I'd say.
But it is an
Works pretty
aftermarket unit.
Yeah.
It's an aftermarket unit. It's not as well integrated as the systems in these cars, especially in
because you don't have a
that's
multifunction
Stormtrak.
steering wheel.
Yeah.
don't have a multifunction steering wheel.
Is that such a train smash though?
It's not the worst because I found the past couple of days using the car, just adjusting the volume once, and I'm using Android Auto. It doesn't bother me really. It's amazing when you spend a bit of time with something that's a bit more basic, how much you realize what you can live without and what you don't want to live without. Something like an aircon.
Don't tell the Ranger owners that.
I mean, that has just got pretty much every conceivable creature comfort you could ever
Bell and
want.
whistle on
It's
it. Yeah.
everything. Well,
They
kit
are
and caboodle.
fantastic, though. I have to say,
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed the Rangers. They've always been among the best of the bakkies to drive. So.
But that's coming with that
leads.
300,000 Rand premium. Because I'm gonna just on what I know that this one has that your guys don't have. I've got an electric roller shutter at the back.
that is very nice.
That is convenient.
Easy lift tailgate. There's a tailgate partition as well, which makes it really nice because if you bring that a lot closer to the tailgate, you can use it for school bags and groceries and that sort of
And a
stuff. And when you
holiday, right?
and no, but then when you hit the brakes, it's not all diving up against the window where you can't reach it, and then you need to climb into the back to go and fetch your milk.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. It stays right there. It has lane departure warning with lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, and I can tell you what, on that little bit of a lengthier commute that I was doing, set and forget. It really does make it convenient. It is nicely trimmed inside. Sync 3, the infotainment system, not bad, but also not the greatest, if I'm perfectly honest. Has park assist, which with a vehicle this size is kind of cool, but it's only for parallel parking. So perpendicular parking, it doesn't really help. And I'm trying to think.
And leather everywhere.
Yeah,
That's
Well,
something.
the
It's a lot of
Alcantara.
leather.
The Alcantara is nice.
It is
But
nice.
I am going to say this. You guys trumpet on comfort. Just seat comfort.
Really.
I've just spent a little bit of time with these two, just, quick little comparative test drive, pulling it in here, and straight away climbing into it, like you said, those seats are winner. It's almost like a long distance bruiser, this I almost said KB. This D-Max.
No, you're 100% right. Like, with the 300Ks I've been doing, it's been a lot of long distance, open road travel, and I was like, I sat in the KB, I almost said that. But okay, we'll say KB, I'm sorry. But
Sorry, Isuzu.
Sorry, Isuzu, but it's honorable.
Yeah.
And it just made sense. You know, this has also got cruise control, although it's not adaptive, it's just basic cruise control.
Okay.
And of course, you do get
Yours
multifunction
doesn't
steering
have
wheel.
no cruise control. No.
I have very little in that car.
The cruise control is here.
Yeah,
Right foot Achilles tendon.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, so basic, but so refreshing in so many ways because it's just a bakkie. It's not anything else. It's just a standard double cab bakkie, built very nicely. It also has great cloth seats. I am a sucker for cloth seats. I love them. I think regardless of the prevailing temperature outside, you always have a comfortable seat.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. We had a little bit of a cold snap 2 weeks ago, and been spending. I mean, this is our long termer here, so we're all getting a chance to take it around the block and that. I did appreciate the heated seats. Not going to lie, it's the little creature comforts that you do miss when they're not there. But cloth seats aren't that cold when you climb into them anyway that you need heating on them.
And they're not that hot in summer either.
Exactly that, yeah.
They're great.
You know, it's a bit more of a pain to clean than that, but, you know, the benefits can also outweigh in some degree.
Well, the Alcantara is an absolute nightmare to clean on this.
Yeah, some mud on Alcantara.
And it's done deal. It's game over. I mean, this is stylish, but I get when I'm driving it, it's like you feel a little bit proud. Hey, I'm in an expensive Stormtrak. But then you get the impression that people are looking at you and saying, what's the matter? Couldn't afford a Raptor? I'm sorry, that's just the impression that I get. It's like there is a level of respect, but not quite. You know, you're not last number.
Yeah, and if the Raptor comes past you in traffic, you're like,
yeah, you hang your head, you hang your head, like, I'm a wannabe.
Which leads me also to ask this question, because coming back to the whole thing of, you know, a lot of these bakkies, like these ones, for example, the Stormtrak, it's going more for, it's purpose-built, but it's also luxury. That's the other thing about it. But then now, what we're talking about now, it's like, okay, if you get mud on this Alcantara, like that's it, game over.
Done deal.
So now, with something like this, would you be scared to take it out? Let's say you want to go on a fishing trip or something. Let's say you want to go on the trails to a point.
Yes.
Whereas in these, it's like you're not too bothered if it gets dirty. You're not too bothered with a little scratch or something.
When you told me the price of this one, that was exactly where I went to. 500k is not disposable. Okay, 500k is a lot of money. It's R500,000. It's still a lot of money. But when you compare it to R1 million, and it's the same problem with the new Defender, you're almost, it's so expensive, you're almost too scared to take it off road and run it up against the bushes and that, to load a go-kart in it, load a dirt bike on it, you know, go, like you say, going out fishing. And I think that makes these a little more palatable in that sense. If you want to go and do the really rough stuff, they're available in 4x4. They're 4x2 in this trim here that we've got. But it's the rough and tumble bakkie for a bakkie guy.
If you have a business and you just need to carry stuff for your business, but you also kind of need to do the school run every now and again, these ones are great options because still got ISOFIX, child seat anchor points, and you're not too concerned with scratching the thing or using it for its intended purpose. Whereas that is, it's almost too nice in many ways. It's so nicely finished, and some of the surfaces are so...
There's a lot of gloss actually.
Yeah, like they look so nice. You almost don't want to get them dirty, which is a bit counterintuitive for a bakkie, right?
Yeah, for something that's supposed to be utilitarian and rough and tumble and, you know, a tool in essence. Is that one available in an auto?
No.
In the GL? So the GL is only available with a manual gearbox?
Yeah, so this GL, they've brought in, according to their press material at least, it is to get that entry-level double cab sort of segment for them going, to get under 500,000 Rand, which, as we've said, is a psychological barrier for consumers.
Massive,
if you can see a price that's in the 400s for a double cab bakkie, I think you're far more likely
with that badge
with a Mitsubishi badge. I mean, and it is, it's very nicely built. I have to say, it feels very solid, and I mean, I've always been a fan of this new gen Triton. It does so well in Australia. And it just hasn't taken off here, but it's a really good bakkie.
It's as attractive. Admittedly, it's running on 16-inch wheels. What size wheels are you on?
Mine are 17s.
17s. Okay, then I'm on the 18s. So it's really the flash stuff. So you can sort of tell that this is a an entry point just through the wheels, but that's also maybe a 20,000, 25,000 rand exercise if you can spare that to fit a set of aftermarket, and then you've got a really good looking bakkie, a really good looking double cab, because it's as attractive as what one of the high end GLX, I think, is there.
Yeah, they've got a few. They've got like special editions that come with massive all-terrain tires, I've just found this to be such an underrated bakkie in this market. Honestly, I wish we saw more on the roads, because I think it is a properly good package, and I think as journalists we very rarely get a chance to drive the simple, basic, specified versions of vehicles that we could actually afford and buy ourselves if we weren't driving press cars, you know. And this has been that sort of same refreshing, you know, harking back to what, you know, your grandpa drove as a basic bakkie that just was used for work, but it's got kind of enough in the way of creature comforts, well, for me at least at this stage. But
like I say, you don't realize how much you can actually live without some of those. You want it, you don't need it.
Absolutely.
It's more a want than a need. Okay, so we need to wrap up here, but in prepping for this, we came across some really important information that could really sway a buyer's buying decision, and that's towing capacity. So let's run around quickly and talk about the towing capacity, because I think that may just set the cat amongst the pigeons here. Where do you sit?
So in all key metrics, as in towing capacity, load carrying and ground clearance, the Mitsubishi is the worst here. It can only tow 1,400 kilos braked, 750 unbraked, and it's got 209 millimeters of ground clearance, which I believe is the lowest here, and its payload is a ton, which
is about par.
Which is about par for the course.
Taye?
So towing capacity, I'm looking at 750 unbraked, 2.5 braked.
Okay.
So I pretty much trounced the Triton there, unfortunately. Yeah.
750 unbraked. I mean, it's about standard. 3.5 braked.
Yeah,
you got it.
That's where these are really coming into the market, with the guys with boats and these lifestyle toys.
Race cars.
Cars.
But of course, if you do have something of that nature, and undoubtedly if you are one of those that tows a Jurgen Super Deluxe or something of the sort that is heavier, you understand that you need that sort of EC license or Code B license, you know, to be able to tow to that amount. For the layman who's towing a Fender or a rubber duck or something of the sort, a small little Sprite caravan, you can get away with it with the Triton. You can do it. It's not the end of the world, but if you do have a bigger boat, you're a lifestyler, it's going to have to be the Ranger. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I think that was some useful consumer advice. Let us know in the comments below if you found this sort of chat beneficial to you, and tell us which one of these you'd want to park in your driveway. Sean, Taye, thank you very much, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel and our social media channels for more AutoBattle videos.
Are you looking for a car? Don't want to break your budget? Introducing Search by Estimated Repayments. Our new search feature makes it so easy to find the perfect car, one that suits your pocket. Search for the brand you can trust. Search AutoTrader.